Hello, class. Welcome to this week's filmmaking lesson. I might not be here at Lowe's College, but I have to go to Disney's California Adventure to go to Pixar Pier. And I'm going to come back here on September 29th for Terry Fox Run Assembly. And, yeah. And, on 28th of September, I might go for all the rides, so I have to come back here on 28th of September, okay? Good class. Alright then. So first, we will be doing home video releases. On today, we will be doing the Forever Purge 2021 film. Here's a plot to this film. In 2048, 8 years after Charlene Roan's presidential election, the new founding fathers of America and FFA have regained control of the U.S. government and have reinstituted the annual purge with its original rules. Racial supremacy and nativism have surged nationwide following their re-election, and many outside the ruling party are concerned that the upcoming purge will inflict more damage on the country than the NFFA realizes. Married migrant couple Juan and Adela illegally crossed the border into Texas to escape from the Mexican drug cartel and build a new life, with Juan working as a farmhand on the Tucker family ranch while Adela begins working near Olsen. 10 months later, on the eve of the next annual purge, Juan and Adela join the migrant community behind a walled sanctuary with armed security to protect them. As the purge begins, Adela witnesses a nationalist purger group who declare themselves to be a purification force (PPF) that intend to kill those people that they consider non-American. The group passes by without hostility, and the migrant community survives the purge with no incidents. Come morning, Juan and Adela return to their jobs, but both notice that many of their co-workers did not report to work. Shortly after, Adela is attacked by two purgers, but she is rescued by her boss Darius before both are arrested by police for killing their attackers. Meanwhile, Juan and fellow migrant co-worker TT discover that the Tucker family has been taken hostage by their farmhands, who reveal themselves as purgers, intending to take the ranch for themselves. Ranch owner Caleb Tucker sacrifices himself and distracts the purgers long enough for Juan and TT to rescue his son Dylan's pregnant wife Cassie, and his sister Harper, who offer them a ride to search for Adela. Nationwide news struggles to understand why civilians continue to celebrate the purge after its ending. The group rescue Adela and Darius after the policeman carrying them is ambushed by more purgers. Darius stays behind to search for his family, while the others escape from a burning Austin. At a gas station, they hear news reports about chaos, murder, and destruction in all 50 American states, where the local emergency services are overwhelmed in an event described as a forever purge. To protect non-purger civilians, Canada and Mexico have opened their borders for the next 6 hours, following which the borders will close and entry would be denied. The group decide to escape across the Mexican border through El Paso. By the time the group arrives in the chaotic El Paso, the NFFA has condemned the forever purge after their politicians and representatives are targeted and invokes martial law across the United States in an effort to contain the violence. Fighting through El Paso, Adela and Cassie are split from the group by military forces while Luan, TT, Dylan, and Harper are captured by the PPF, with their leader, referred to as Alpha, offering Dylan and Harper a chance to live if they kill TT and Luan. Well, when they refuse, the Purgers murder TT before the military intervenes, allowing the group to escape. However, the military is forced to withdraw when their base is destroyed by more Purgers. In response, the Canadian and Mexican governments announced the early closure of its borders, leaving those who tried to cross it vulnerable to the Purgers. Downtown, Adela protects Cassie from other Purgers, revealing that she and Juan had once were members of self-defense groups who trained them to fight against Mexican drug cartels before they arrived to the United States. The survivors all reunite at a hidden safe house run by a nearby Native American tribe. The leader offers to transport everyone across the border as refugees, with the PPF in pursuit. Juan, Adela, and Dylan remain behind with other survivors to make time for the other refugees to escape. Both groups engage in a gunfight until their ammo runs out and draw them in close fight with hand weapons. In the ensuing battle, the Purgers are killed and Alpha takes Adela hostage. However, Juan and Dylan work together to subdue and kill Alpha, saving Adela. The trio rejoin in the refugee camp on the other side of the Mexican border where Dylan finds Harper and Cassie. The latter reveals that she had given birth during their time apart after thanking each other for their help in surviving. Dylan introduces Juan and Adela to his infant daughter. With the entire country in flames, the NFFA is blamed and disbanded for their prolonged violence. News reports indicate that more than 2 million American people had crossed the Canadian-Mexican borders as refugees, while others had rallied to fight back against the Purgers. Alright, on tomorrow, we will be doing Halloween 1978 film. Here's a plot to this film. On Halloween night in 1963, in the fictional town of Haddonfield, Illinois, 6-year-old Michael Myers inexplicably stabs his teenage sister Judith to death with a kitchen knife. For the next 15 years, as he reincarcerated at Smith's Grove Sanitarium on October 30th, 1978. Michael's psychiatrist, Dr. Samuel Loomis, and his colleague, Ryan Chavers, arrive at the sanitarium to escort Michael to court for a hearing. Loomis hopes the outcome of the hearing is that Michael will never be released from Smith's Grove. However, Michael steals the car and escapes Smith's Grove, killing a mechanic over his coveralls. On the way back to Haddonfield, upon returning home, Michael steals a white and expressionless mask from the hardware store. On Halloween, he sees high school student Laurie Strode drop off a key at a long abandoned Myers house that her father is trying to sell. Lori notices Michael stalking her throughout the day, but her friends Manny Beckett and Linda Van der Clock dismiss her concerns. Loomis arrives in Haddonfield in search of Michael and finds Judith's tombstone missing from the local cemetery. He meets with Annie's father, Sheriff Leigh Beckett, and they investigate Michael's house, where Loomis tells Brackett that Michael is pure evil. Brackett is doubtful of the danger but goes to patrol the streets, while Loomis waits at the house, expecting Michael to return. That night, Laurie babysits Tommy Doyle, while Annie babysits Lindsay Wallace across the street. Michael follows them, spying on Annie and killing the Wallace's dog. Tommy sees Michael from the windows and thinks he is a boogeyman, but Laurie does not believe him. Annie later takes Lindsay over to the Doyle house to spend the night so she can pick up her boyfriend Paul. When she gets into her car, Michael appears from the back seat, strangling her and slitting her throat. Soon after, Linda and her boyfriend Bob Sims arrive at the Wallace's house and find it empty. After having sex, Bob goes downstairs to get a beer, while Michael pins him into the wall with a kitchen knife. Michael then poses as Bob in a ghost costume and confronts Linda, who teases him to no effect. Annoyed, she calls Laurie to find out what happened to Annie. Michael proceeds to strangle Linda with a phone cord while Laurie listens on the other end, thinking it is a joke. Meanwhile, Loomis discovers the stolen car and begins searching the streets. Suspicious of the phone call, Laurie goes to the Wallace house across the street and finds her friends' bodies, as well as Judith's headstone in the upstairs bedroom. She flees to the hallway in terror, where Michael suddenly appears in the dark and slashes her arm, causing her to fall over the stairway banister. Injured, she narrowly escapes and runs back to the Doyle house, but lost the keys into the front door when she fell on the staircase. Tommy lets her and then she orders him and Lindsay to hide, only to find the phone is dead. Michael sneaks in through the window and attacks her again, but she incapacitates him by stabbing him on the neck with a knitting needle. Thinking he's dead, Laurie staggers upstairs to check on the kids, but is shocked to see Michael alive. She tells the kids to hide in the bathroom while Laurie hides in the bedroom closet, but Michael finds her and breaks in, so she stabs him in the eye with a coat hanger and in the chest with his own knife. She then tells Tommy and Lindsay to go down the street to a neighbor's house to call the police. After they leave, Michael awakens once again and slowly approaches an unsuspecting Laurie. Loomis sees the kids running from the house and goes to investigate. Finding Michael and Laurie fighting upstairs, Laurie rips Michael's mask off, masking him and hesitates to put it back on. Loomis shoots Michael 6 times, knocking him off the balcony. Laurie asks Loomis if Michael was the boogeyman, which Loomis confirms. Loomis walks to the balcony and looks down to see that Michael has vanished. Unsurprised, he stares off into the night as Laurie begins to sob. Michael's breathing is heard during a montage of locations where he had recently been, indicating he could be anywhere. Alright, on Wednesday, we will be doing an Halloween 2 1981 film. Here's a plot to this film. On October 31st, 1978, Michael Myers is shot by his psychiatrist, Dr. Sam Loomis, and falls off the balcony. He survives and escapes into the night. Wandering the alleys, he steals a kitchen knife from the elderly couple and kills the teenage girl next door. Meanwhile, Laurie Strode, who narrowly avoided being killed that night, is taken to Haddonfield Memorial Hospital while Loomis continues in his pursuit of Michael. Accompanied by Sheriff Leigh Brackett, Loomis mistakes costumed teenager Ben Tremor for Michael, resulting in Ben being hit by a police car and burning to death. Upon learning his daughter Annie has been killed by Michael, Sheriff Brackett blames Loomis and abandons the search, leaving Deputy Gary Hunt to take his place. At the hospital, paramedic Jimmy begins to fall in love with Laurie, but head nurse Virginia Alves limits the time he spends here with her. After hearing the news broadcast revealing Laurie's location, Michael makes his way to the hospital, where he cuts the phone lines and disables the cars. Wandering the halls in search of Laurie, he kills the security guard. The doctor and several nurses throughout the night in her hospital room. Laurie dreams about the time she learned she was adopted and remembers she once visited a young Michael in the sanitarium. Jimmy and nurse Jill Franco search for the hospital for Laurie, who is trying to evade Michael. Jimmy finds the body of Mrs. Alves before slipping in a pool of her blood and knocking himself unconscious. Meanwhile, Loomis is informed that Michael broke into the local elementary school earlier. He discovers clues connecting Michael to Samhain and the occult, which might explain his apparent indestructibility. His colleague Marion Chambers arrives to escort him back to Smith's Grove on the governor's orders and under the enforcement of a U.S. Marshal. On the way, she tells him that Laurie is Michael's younger sister. She was put up for adoption after the death of Michael's parents, with the records sealed to protect the family. Realizing that Michael is after Laurie and being told she was brought to Haddonfield Memorial Hospital, Loomis forces the marshal at gunpoint to drive back to Haddonfield. Jill finally finds Laurie, only to be killed by Michael, who then pursues Laurie through the hospital. She manages to escape to the parking lot and hides her in a car. Jimmy soon arrives and tries to drive the car to safety, but passes out again on the horn, alerting Michael. Loomis, Marion, and the marshal reach the hospital just in time to save Laurie. Loomis shoots Michael until he falls down, seemingly dead. While Marion calls the police, Michael awakens and kills the marshal with a scalpel. Loomis and Laurie run into an operating room where he gives her and Marshall's gun before being stabbed by Michael. Laurie shoots Michael in both eyes, blinding him as he staggers around trying to find them. The two fill the room with flammable gas. Loomis orders Laurie to run before igniting the gas, immolating himself and Michael in an explosion. Laurie watches as Michael, engulfed in flames, emerges from the fire before finally collapsing. The next morning, she is transferred to another hospital, traumatized by her life. Alright. On Thursday, we will be doing Halloween 3, Season of the Witch, 1982 film. Here's a plot to this film. On October 23rd, in Northern California, shop owner Harry Greenbridge is chased along the Berrien Road by mysterious men in suits. After nearly being killed by one man who is crushed to death but remains silent as he dies. He makes it to the gas station, clutching a jack-o'-lantern mask. He is driven to the hospital by Canley Station attendant Walter Wall Jones. At the hospital, Harry is placed in the care of Dr. Daniel Challis, an alcoholic doctor who has poor relationships with his ex-wife and his two children. That night, another man in a suit enters Harry's hospital room, murders him, then emulates himself with Daniel. When Daniel tries to pursue him, a few days later, Daniel is confronted in a bar by Harry's daughter Ellie. He tells her about the strange events of the night Harry died and shows her the mask her father was holding when he was admitted to the hospital. Along with Ellie, Daniel traces the mask back to Silver Shamrock Novelties, a company based in the town of Santa Mara, California. The outwardly genial motel manager explains that Colonel Cochran and his company, Silver Shamrock Novelties, which produces widely popular latex jack-o'-lantern witch and skeleton masks for Halloween, are responsible for the town's prosperity. While signing the motel register, Daniel learns that Harry stayed at the same motel after he arrived in town. Other motel guests include shop owners Marge Gutman and Buddy Cuthbert, Buddy's wife Betty and their son Little Buddy, who all have business at the company's factory. A local vagrant tells Daniel and Cochran and spouts hopeless plans to burn down the plant in retaliation for not being hired there. But some blank-faced men in suits show up after Daniel leaves and decapitates the vagrant. Marge finds the stone of microchip on the back of the silver shamrock button. She is zapped in the face by its laser beam after poking it with a hairpin, killing her via massive burns across her face and causing a large insect to emerge from the wound. Daniel and Ellie learn of Marge's accident, and Daniel attempts to help, but is forced away by a group of men dressed in lab coats who drive away in a silver shamrock man with Marge's body. Cochran arrives and tells everyone not to worry, but Daniel overhears the hotel manager tell Cochran one word, misfire. The next morning, Daniel and Ellie tour the factory with the Cuthberts and discover Harry's car there. Guarded by more men dressed in suits, they return to the motel but cannot contact anyone outside the town. While Daniel attempts to phone for the authorities, Ellie mysteriously disappears, and Daniel is captured by the men in suits who are revealed to be androids created by Cochran. For Silver Shamrock's big giveaway, which will air at 9 p.m. I don't know what time zone, on all television channels following the Horathon. Each of these masks contain a fragment of Stonehenge implanted in its trademark microchip. When activated by a flashing signal of the commercial's on-screen magic pumpkin, the microchip causes the mask wearer to succumb to brain damage from absorbing the energy of Stonehenge, and it unleashes a swarm of insects and snakes that come out of the wearer's corpse and kill everyone. Nearby, to demonstrate, Cochran kills the Cuthberts this way. Later that night, Cochran puts a silver shamrock mask on Daniel and reveals his plan to sacrifice children wearing his masks on Halloween, thus bringing about a resurrection of the ancient age of witchcraft that stems from pageant rituals in the Celtic blends going back centuries for Cochran's family. He leaves him to die the same fate as the trick-or-treating children who will come back home for his false watch and win Halloween sweepstakes. that he created for his company, Daniel. Destroying the television set and removing the mask escapes through the ventilation shaft and rescues Ellie. He dumps the chips from the overhead rafters and activates the signal with a commercial, killing Cochrane's employees while Cochrane is vaporized and by the Stonehenge ruin he was using to create his masks, leading to a massive fire that destroys the entire factory. As the two drive away, Ellie attacks Daniel, revealing herself to be an android duplicate, and that Cochrane's henchmen presumably killed her. Daniel crashes the vehicle, but decapitates the android with the tire iron. On foot, Daniel arrives at Walter's gas station, where he contacts the television stations and attempts to convince all the station managers to remove the commercial. At the same moment, a group of trick-or-treaters wearing silver shamrock masks arrive at the station to participate in the big giveaway on Walter's television. Daniel persuades the stations to take it off channels 1 and 2, but on channel 3, the commercial keeps playing. Daniel desperately screams on the phone for the final station to turn off the commercial as the credits roll. Alright. On Friday, we will be doing Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers. 1988 film. Here's a plot to this film. On October 30th, 1988, Michael Myers, who has been in a comatose state for 10 years since the explosion at Haddonfield Memorial Hospital, is transferred to Smith's Grove, the sanitarium, by ambulance from his current residence in the Richmond Federal Sanitarium. Upon hearing that he has a niece, Michael awakens and kills the ambulance personnel, which causes the ambulance to lose control, then crashes into a river. Michael escapes and makes his way to Haddonfield. Michael's former psychiatrist, Samuel Lupus, learns of Michael's escape and gives chase. He follows Michael to a gas station in Eatery, where he has killed a mechanic for his clothes, along with a female clerk. Michael then escapes on a tow truck, hitting the gas pumps, causing the explosion, destroying Loomis's car provided by Richmond in the process and disabling the phone lines. Loomis is then forced to catch a ride to Haddonfield to continue pursuing Michael. Meanwhile, Jamie Lloyd, Laurie Strode's daughter and Michael's niece, is living in Haddonfield with her foster family. Richard and Darlene Caruthers and their teenage daughter, Rachel. Although Jamie knows about Michael, she does not realize that he is the man she has nightmares about. On Halloween night, Richard and Darlene head out to a party and leave Rachel and to babysit, which forces her to cancel the date with her boyfriend Brady. After school, Richard takes Jamie to buy ice cream in a Halloween costume. Michael arrives in Haddonfield and steals a mask from the same store where Jamie and Rachel happen to be. He almost attacks a farmer, but is forced to flee when Jamie screams and alerts Rachel. That night, as Rachel takes Jamie trick-or-treating, Michael breaks into a house and finds photos of Laurie in Jamie's bedroom. Then he goes to the power station and kills a worker by throwing him into a transformer, plunging the town into darkness. Meanwhile, Loomis arrives in Haddonfield and warns the new sheriff, Ben Meeker, that Michael has returned. Michael attacks the police station and kills all the officers. A lynch mob is formed by the town's men to kill Michael once Loomis reveals Michael has returned. Rachel discovers Brady cheating on her with her friend and Meeker's daughter Kelly and loses track of Jamie. After being chased by Michael, Rachel finds Jamie. Sheriff Meeker and Loomis arrive and take the girls to the sheriff's house with Brady, Kelly, and the deputy. They barricade the house. and Loomis departs to look for Michael, with Sheriff Meeker in the basement awaiting the arrival of the police station. State police before heading out to deal with the lynch mob. Michael sneaks in and kills the deputy and Kelly. Discovering the bodies, Rachel, Jamie, and Rob Brady realize they are trapped in the house. Rachel and Jamie flee to the attic. When Michael appears, but Brady stays in to fend him off and is killed when Michael crashes his skull. The girls climb through a window onto the roof and Jamie is lowered down safely. But Michael attacks Rachel and knocks her off the roof and knocks her unconscious. Pursued by Michael, Jamie runs down the street and finds Loomis. They take shelter in the school, while Michael appears and subdues Loomis by throwing him through a glass door, then chases Jamie through the building. Jamie trips and falls down a flight of stairs before Michael can kill her. Rachel reappears and subdues him with a fire extinguisher, then vanishes. A lynch mob arrives at the school. After hearing the alarm go off, Earl and 3 other mob members agree to take the girls to the next town in the pickup truck, meeting up with the state police as they head to Haddonfield to reinforce Sheriff Meeker. A trooper tells them on the substation just up the road where they will be safe, but Michael, who hid underneath the truck, climbs aboard and kills all 3 men, including Earl. Rachel pushes Earl's body out to take the wheel, continuously attempting to throw Michael off. She succeeds in doing so and then rams him with the truck, sending him flying into the ditch near an abandoned mine. Sheriff Meeker, Loomis, and the rest of the lynch mob and the state police arrive, but when Jamie approaches Michael and touches his hand, he rises Meeker, the state police, and the lynch mob relentlessly shoot Michael until he falls down in the mine. Loomis and Sheriff Meeker take the girls back home, where Darlene and Rachel console their traumatized children. As Darlene goes upstairs to run a bath for Jamie, she is suddenly attacked. When Loomis goes to see what happened, he finds an emotionless Jamie holding a pair of bloody scissors on the top of the stairs, reminiscent of Michael when he killed his own sister. Loomis screams "No!" repeatedly and attempts to shoot Jamie, but Sheriff Meeker stops him. Loomis sinks to the floor and begins sobbing as Rachel, Richard, and Meeker stare in horror. Alright. Also on Friday, we will be doing Halloween 5, The Revenge of Michael Myers' 1989 film. Here's the plot to this film. On October 31st, 1988, Michael Myers is shot and falls down the mine shaft. Sheriff Ben Meeker and lynch mob in a Haddonfield's truckers and state police toss down dynamite to finish him off, escaping into a nearby creek before the dynamite explodes. Michael stumbles upon a local hermit and falls down into a coma, placing himself in the hermit's care and being nursed back to health. 1 year later, on October 30th, 1989, okay, let me tell you. I just wanted to let you know, class, that the chicken nuggets are gone, so I won't cook them because I eat them all. Alright, let's continue to the plot. Michael wakens, stabs the hermit to death with his knife, and returns to Haddonfield to find his niece, Jamie Lloyd, again, who narrowly avoided being killed by him the year before. Jamie has been admitted to the Haddonfield Children's Clinic after having attacked by her foster mother. Jamie has been rendered mute due to psychological trauma, suffering from nightmares and seizures, and exhibits signs of a telepathic link with her uncle. Dr. Sam Loomis becomes aware of Jamie's psychic link with Michael and tries to convince Maker that Michael is still alive. Meanwhile, Michael stabs Jamie's foster sister Rachel to death and begins stalking their friend Tina. Michael kills Tina's boyfriend Mike, then poses him as him by wearing a mask that Tina had given to Mike earlier. Later that night, Tina and her friends Sam and Spitz go to a Halloween party at a farm. Sensing that Tina is in danger, Jamie, having partially regained her ability to speak, goes to warn her. While Sam and Spitz are having sex in a barn, Michael impales Spitz with a rake and decapitates Sam with a scythe. Tina finds the bodies and goes to warn nearby police deputies, but finds that Michael has already killed them. Tina flees, but Jamie and her boyfriend Billy Hill, a fellow patient from the clinic, arrive. Michael begins chasing Amy but crashes into a tree. Michael exits the car, and Tina sacrifices herself to allow Jamie and Billy time to escape. Loomis arrives, and Jamie finally agrees to help him stop Michael for good. With Jamie's help, Loomis and Meeker have created a setup of the old Mel Myers house to lure him back to his abandoned childhood home. Suddenly, the police receive a call saying Michael has broken into a clinic, which prompts Meeker and most of the officers to leave. However, this call is merely a diversion. Michael appears and kills the trooper sitting in the patrol car outside. Before entering the house, Loomis tries to reason with him, but Michael slashes him and throws him over the stair banister. Michael kills another trooper who was protecting Jamie before chasing her throughout the house. Jamie hides in a laundry chute, but is forced to abandon it when Michael stabs and injures her, fleeing upstairs. But Jamie finds the bodies of Max the dog, Rachel and Mike in the attic. Michael finds Jamie and attempts to kill her, but stops when Jamie addresses him as uncle and removes his mask. When Jamie touches his face, he goes off into a fit of rage and chases her again. Jamie heads downstairs and finds Loomis. However, Loomis has gone mad and uses her as bait for Michael, luring the killer into a trap and shooting him with a tranquilizer gun. When this doesn't work, Loomis begins beating Michael unconscious with a wooden plank until he eventually suffers from a stroke and collapses on top of Michael. Meeker and the rest of the police return shortly thereafter, and Michael is then taken into custody. Meeker assures Jamie that Michael, who is sitting clean chained up in the cell, will remain in prison until he dies. Jamie doesn't believe him, however, and remarks Michael will never die. One of the officers goes to bring Jamie home when a mysterious man in black, who has been searching for Michael, arrives and causes an explosion at the police station. The officer, hearing gunfire, rushes back inside after warning Jamie to stay in the car. When the officer doesn't return, Jamie goes back inside to investigate and finds the station destroyed from the explosion. Along with Meeker and several other dead police officers, Jamie discovers Michael's cell empty and the back door of the police station broken open, causing her to break down in tears as she realizes Michael is free again to continue terrorizing Haddonfield. Alright. Also on Friday, we will be doing the Transformers the movie 1986 film. Here's a plot to this film. In 2005, the evil Decepticons have conquered the Autobots' home planet of Cybertron. The heroic Autobots, operating from Cybertron's 2 moons, prepare a counter-offensive. Autobot leader Optimus Prime sends a shuttle of Autobot to Autobot City on Earth for supplies. However, their plan is discovered by the Decepticons, who kill the crew, Ironhide, Prowl, Ratchet, Brawn, and hijack the ship in the Autobot City. Hot Rod, relaxing with Daniel Witwicky, son of Spike Witwicky, spots the hijacked shuttle and the deadly battle breaks out. Optimus arrives with reinforcements, just as the Decepticons are near victory. Optimus defeats many of them and then engages Megatron in brutal combat, leaving both mortally wounded. On his deathbed, Optimus passes the matrix of leadership to Ultra Magnus, telling him that its power will enlighten the Autobots' darkest hour. It drops from Optimus's hands and is caught by Hot Rod, who hands it to Ultra Magnus. Optimus Prime's body loses color, and he dies. The Decepticons withdraw from Autobot City within Astro Train to conserve fuel on return to Cybertron. They jettison their wounded, and Megatron is discarded by his treacherous second-in-command Starscream. Drifting in space, the wounded are found by Unicron, a sentient planet who consumes other worlds. Unicron offers Megatron a new body in exchange for destroying the Matrix, which has the power to destroy Unicron. Megatron reluctantly agrees and is remade into Galvatron, while the corpses of other jettisoned Decepticons are converted into his new troops. Cyclonus, Scrooge, and the Sweeps. On Cybertron, Galvatron disrupts Starscream's coronation as Decepticon leader and kills him. Unicron then consumes the moons of Cybertron, including the secret bases with Autobots and Spike, retaking command of the Decepticons. Galvatron leads his forces to seek out Ultra Magnus at the ruined Autobot City. The surviving Autobots escape in the separate shuttles, which are shot down by the Decepticons and crash on different planets. Hot Rod and Cub are taken prisoner by the Quintessence, a clutch of tyrants who hold kangaroo courts and execute prisoners by feeding them into the Sharkticons. Hot Rod and Cub learn of Unicron from Krennic, a lone survivor of Lethron, a planet devoured by Unicron at the beginning of the film. After Krennic is executed, Hot Rod and Cub escape, aided by the Dinobots at the small Autobot wheelie, who helps find an escaped ship. The other Autobots land on the planet of Junk, where they are attacked by the native Junkians, who then hide from Galvatron's arriving forces. Ultra Magnus secures the remaining Autobots while attempting and failing to release the power of the Matrix. He is destroyed by Galvatron, who seizes the Matrix, now intent on using it to control Unicron. The Autobots befriended the local Junkions, led by Rick Gar, who rebuild Magnus. They are joined by the Autobots from the planet of Quintessence, introducing that Galvatron has the Matrix, and the Autobots and Junkions, who have their own ship, fly through Cybertron. Galvatron attempts to threaten Unicron, but like Ultra Magnus, cannot activate the Matrix. In response to Galvatron's threats, Unicron transforms into a colossal robot and begins to dismember Cybertron. When Galvatron attacks him, Unicron swallows him, and the Matrix, whole The Autobots crash their spaceship outward through the Unicron's eye and become suspended, while Unicron continues to battle Decepticons. Junkion and the other defenders of Cybertron, Daniel saves his father, Spike, from the Unicron's digestive system, and the group rescues Bumblebee. The Galvatron attempts to form an alliance with Hot Rod, but Unicron forces him to attack. Hot Rod recovers the Matrix and becomes Rodimus Prime. The new Autobot leader, Rodimus, tosses Galvatron into space and uses the Matrix power to destroy Unicron, then escapes with the other Autobots, with the Decepticons in disarray. From Unicron's attack, the Autobots celebrate the war's end and the retaking of their home planet while Unicron's severe herd orbits Cybertron. Alright. Also on Friday, we will be doing Twist, the 2021 film. Here's the plot to this film. A thief named Tom Chitling steals an envelope from a safe and escapes from guards, but is thrown off by a building by an unseen assailant. The envelope is stolen while Tom is left to die. Years before, a boy named Oliver lived with his mother Molly, and their hobby was painting. After Molly dies from unknown causes, Oliver runs away, being scared due to not knowing anyone else. He teaches himself to free run and getting the nickname Twist. One day, after graffiti spraying on the traffic warden's van, the police chase him and meets Dodge and Betsy, the artful Dodger, and Charles Bates. They escape to their den near the Truman Brewery, where Twist meets Fragen with their career. The next morning, Twist draws a giant graffiti painting on a building. Fragen sends Red, Nancy Lay, to invite Twist, who is smitten with her, to his for dinner. Meanwhile, Fragen meets with a friend of his named Sky Sykes, Bill Sykes, revealing she pushed Chitling. Twist stays with the family, and Fragen reveals his plan to steal from art dealer Dr. Crispin Losbern, who took everything from Fragen. They then steal his phone, and Betsy makes a copy. Meanwhile, Red, as a distraction, asks to be an intern for Losbern. So the next day, Fragen gets the blueprints to Losbern's gallery. Twist meets Sykes and her dog Bullseye. Fragen explains that Losbern once went into a partnership with a Mr. Isaac Solomon, who Losbern also betrayed. Red plants a small bomb in Losbern's bathroom and to steal a lost painting by William Hogarth. The bomb floods the basement and causes the painting to have to be moved. Back at base, Twist finds out that Red and Sykes are a couple upsetting him. At a pub, Red appears and Sykes' goons attack the group while Dodge and plays Ever Fallen in Love in the jukebox. Twist and Red escape into a pool, where the two kiss and run through the park. Twist is arrested by the traffic warden from earlier and is interrogated by the detectives Bromlow and Bedwin, who tell him about Chitling. Twist is let free and gets back to the base. Betsy is planned to get in a box to steal the painting while it's on the move, but because of her he's claustrophobic. Twist switches places with him. Losbern finds out about the thieves, and this causes Twist to fall out the van. Sykes picks Betsy up and apparently kills him. Twist gets back to base and asks what happened to Tom Chitling, and Sykes reveals that she killed Tom. Fragen gets a plan to break into the auction building. Disguised, the group sneak in and Fagin plants a gun in Losburn's chair. This causes a big evacuation twist, steals the painting, and escapes with dodge. Betsy, who is still alive, reveals that Sykes tried to kill him and meets them at the base, where Twist reveals he made a duplicate of the painting and has hidden the real one. He and Red escape and Sykes shoots Fagin. She then chases them to a rooftop and is shot by Fagin and falls off of the building. Ironic after what happened to Tom. A week later, Twist meets Bedwin and Brownlow at a cafe and leaves them the envelope and the key. He then calls Brownlow, hinting that the painting was right next to them the whole time. The envelope reveals the true owners of the painting and the key leads them to a locker owned by Losberne, who was arrested, which houses many stolen artwork. Legend is revealed to be Isaac Solomon and leaves with Twist in charge. It is also revealed that Twist snuck in a photo that he painted in credits it as his mother's. The film ends with Twist telling the game to stop stealing and start selling paintings while him and Red start a relationship. Alright, that's all the home video releases we got. So second, we will be doing TV series home releases. On today, tomorrow, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, we will be doing Tari TV series on YouTube. Here's a plot on the episode 5. As the game showed their support to Taichi as he participates in a badminton tournament, Wakana appears to be occupied by the letter she received. The next day, Wakana runs into Sawa's mother, Shiho, who shows her an old photo of Mahiro in high school with Naoko, remembering how she had often argued with Mahiro over music before her death due to focusing on her exams. Wakana asks her father, who is to go on a short business trip, to get rid of the piano in her room, as Wakana returns home with the piano gone and realizing she is all alone. She recalls the contents of the letter, expressing Mahiro's desire to write songs with her, and soon starts to regret her decision. Alright. So, that's all the TV series overall releases we got. So third, we will be doing Monkey Pictures and Dr. D's Company and Roman Cow Production shorts. This is all about the Cat Concerto in 1947. Here's a plot in the shorts. In a formal concert, Tom, in a tuxedo as a soloist, is performing a piano version of Franz Liszt's Hungarian Rhapsody No. 2. Jerry, sleeping inside the piano, is rudely awakened, then sits on top of the piano to mock the cat by conducting him. Tom flicks Jerry off the piano and continues playing. Jerry arises from under one of the keys. Tom plays tremolo on his key, hammering Jerry's head with it, and then unsuccessfully tries to smash the mouse beneath the keys. When Tom lifts his fingers, the piano continues playing by itself, with Jerry manipulating the belts from inside. To quiet him, Tom whacks Jerry with a tuning tool. In retaliation, Jerry slams the piano keyboard and lid onto Tom's fingers, and then pops out on the far right of the piano to attempt to cut Tom's fingers with a pair of scissors as he plays a very high note. After 6 misses, Jerry substitutes a mousetrap for white keys. Just below it, Tom plays the keys on either side of a few seconds, but eventually his fingers get caught in the trap. Jerry prances up and down on the piano, upon which Tom climbs onto the piano in pursuit, continuing to play with his feet. As Tom gets back down on the seats, Jerry dances around on the belts, momentarily changing the tune on the Atchison, Topeka, and the Santa Fe. Tom then plays a chord where Jerry is bounced repeatedly while making the insulting faces at the cat, and with each bounce, Tom eventually catches Jerry and throws him into the piano stool. Jerry then crawls out of an opening and manipulates the seat's controls, cranking it up and sending it crashing down, causing Tom to land on the keys. Now completely fed up, Tom stops Jerry into the belts and then goes crazy on the piano. The belts start bashing Jerry about, begging him and squashing him into and fro. Eventually, Jerry emerges on a very angry mood, breaks off some belts and, using them as drumsticks, plays the finale of the Rhapsody in one last retaliation. Jerry constantly increases the tempo in his playing while it's playing, causing Tom to collapse in exhaustion. At the end of the Rhapsody, the sleeves and his tuxedo jacket are now hanging around his wrists. The audience then applauds for the performance, and Jerry takes his praise for himself as a spotlight shines on him. Alright, that's all the shorts we got. So forth, we will be doing a Samsung Galaxy S21 Plus RG. It is about Mei who got screened by Kaede Akino, but eventually wanted to hear Kaede again. But the Matchbowl girls have decided that Kaede was the loudest girl I ever saw, and then Mei convinces that Kaede Akino was a screamer, and so she and Kaede and Sana and Tsukio and Mikio goes to the loudest point in the studio outside the Lewis College, so she can scream out loud when the neighbors heard Kaede. They eventually sees Kaede in a screaming voice, causing Kaede to arrest, but Mimi has to save Kaede from the police and kills all the police cars and police things. As the premier saw what happened to Kaede, he eventually got the police number, and then Kaede was a most screamer and goes back to Los College to work. Alright. That's all I got for today. Let's do some work now.